Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today I'm taking a look at the high-grade Gundam Lfrith Sophie Pulone's mobile suit from Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury. Like I've mentioned so far, this line is absolutely mind-blowing. It's nice to get another Gundam, especially one that looks a lot different from the standard Lfrith and the Gundam Aerial. Of course, this video right here would not have been possible without those absolutely awesome people over at Hobby Link Japan, so if you do want one of these kits of your own, I'll throw a link to them down there in the description. And, well, as is the case right now, pre-ordering is a must. Anyway, let's get right on into it. So when it comes to the high-grade Gundam Lfrith, this is another absolutely phenomenal looking box with a beautiful looking box art. Inside of here we get the same amount of plastic that we normally would. This kit right here costs about 2,000 yen, so a decent bit more than the last two Gundams we would have seen. The Aerial being super cheap around the 1,000 yen mark, and if I'm not mistaken the Lfrith would have been around 1,200 or something like that, like 1,200. Something like that. So yeah, this one is a little bit more expensive, but it does feel like there's a little bit more inside of the box. Once again, this right here is one of those simple builds with such an amount of payoff. So we've only got 6 runners of parts inside of this box, but what we get in the end is a perfectly layered up, absolutely awesome mobile suit. So when it comes to the actual runners inside of this box, A is the usual multicolored runner with a bunch of different colors on it. What stands out the most is that nice, smoky, almost black clear parts that we have for the chest in here. Runner B then is the armor in that nice turquoise color. This is mainly for the shoulder, the torso, and the arms. Runner B2 is some more of that nice turquoise armor, and this is predominantly for the legs. C is the inner frame in a nice dark grey. This is mainly for the torso and the limbs, and I'm actually mentioning what parts are what when it comes to these because there's something a little bit interesting about it. Now when we move on to the next runner, which is runner D, this is some more grey parts, mainly for the weapons and the hands. And I repeat, mainly for the weapons. Runner E then is the lightest color in here, which is a white. This is for the V-fin, the weapons, and a little bit of the torso, once again for the weapons. Lastly then, when it comes to the plastic, we've got the beam sabers in blue, and then we've got the stickers. Now there are a lot of stickers inside of this box, especially in red, but these are mainly for the different reflective aspects of the mobile suit, a whole bunch being for the eyes, head cameras, the shell units in the chest, and we have some for the glowing permit score parts that are on the backpack array. But I'll talk a little bit about the stickers a little more in future. Now winding back to the fact that I was talking about what was laid out on these runners. What's interesting about this is the D and the E runners are predominantly for the weapons. That mixed with a couple of other aspects about this kit, like some extra 3mm holes on the weapons, a whole bunch of attachment points around back. And considering what did happen in the anime, I don't think this is the last time we're going to be seeing the Lfrith. I expect some kind of variant in future, probably with more weapons of the same kind or a different set of weapons. But anyway, either way, let's check out what it's like when it's built. So jumping right on into the aesthetics, and before I actually get into anything, I want to mention, when I first saw this design, the design of the high-grade Lfrith, I was expecting something a little bit more like this right here, because that's the vibe it gave me. This felt, or at least it looked like, this was going to be something akin to what we were seeing from Gundam Build Divers, both color-wise and design-wise, but that is most certainly not the case. What we get with this particular kit right here, the is some next level Witch from Mercury quality. For the most part, this is exactly what we've been seeing so far. It's rock solid, builds up very nicely, there's no polycaps in the build, and it is essentially a perfect high grade, besides one or two little aspects. Now if we wind back to the last couple of Gundams that we saw from the Witch from Mercury, being the Lfrith and the Aerial, these are very non-standard Gundam designs, especially when it comes to gunpla. They don't have the boxy torsos, skirting armor, etc. They're very atypical for a gunpla design. This right here is a Witch from Mercury design that is a lot more classic. Not classic Gundam design as in the 1979 original Gundam, more like something we would have seen around the 2000s like Gundam 00. Even all the way to Gundam Build Divers. So what we do have here is a blocky traditional gunpla, but with the all-plastic solid build that we've seen so far with the Witch from Mercury kits. Now the looks like a big, badass, super armored Gundam, but when you actually do slap it down beside some other Witch from Mercury releases, this is a pretty average height Gundam. It comes in at around the same size as everything else, so it is par for the course when it comes to height. When it comes to the overall look of the high-grade Rubris Ur right here, this is a very thick Gundam rocking a lot of armor, so much so that it actually looks like we might have a smaller Gundam inside of it, Cherudum style. When you see some armored up Gundams like Cherudum, Dual Gundam, Age Gundam Full Glanza, heck, even the Core Gundam, they always have a similar kind of vibe of the way the armor attaches on, where you can actually see the biceps and the thighs of the original Gundam underneath as well as the head. And that is the vibe this design totally gives off. I hope we've got something inside of it. That would be cool. When it comes to the details on this particular kit right here, it's the same we've been seeing so far with this line. You pretty much build up an almost full inner frame inside of it. I would say it's 80 to 90% full. The only thing we're missing really is the white section in the waist and the forearms. But besides that, what that leads to is a kit that actually looks like something that has a functional, moving interior and armor on the outside for the sake of armor. This also means that some of the grey parts of that inner frame do come through the outer armor, which gives it a real separated feeling without the need for tons and tons of parts. They're sandwiched on top of each other so intelligently. When it comes to the stickers, overall this does look a little bit disappointing at first. Thankfully there is no color correcting stickers in here. These are all for doing things that plastic cannot do, aka metallic reflective surfaces. So that means the vast majority of them are for on the eyes, the head cameras, the shell unit on the chest, as well as on the phased array cannon round back. All of these for the most part are recessed, so they don't stand out as stickers too much. Now when it does come to these stickers and this kit's most disappointing aspect, well, when we looked at the Rubris and the Ariel, we had this pre-molded shell unit for in the chest that actually had all of the nice shining detail molded into it, and you just pop it on and it looked fantastic. What we get here is a little bit very old school. These aren't stickers that stick on from underneath, like what we would have seen in the Ariel. These are just stickers that stick right onto the chest inside. So the inner frame of this particular kit does have the molded detail of the shell unit, so you could paint it yourself in a nice metallic red. We do have stickers for in here. I did slap them on to try them out, but what I did do and what I would recommend to do is make sure these are lined up perfectly, and then using something like a toothpick, you're actually able to trace the lines into the plastic below, giving an actual three-dimensional shape to the sticker, which does look a little bit more premium than just the fact that it is a sticker under some clear parts. In the end, it does work out decently enough, but it doesn't look as premium as what we would have seen with something like the Ariel. When it comes to the head design in this kit, this is incredibly impressive, again with a little bit of a but. It's incredibly impressive, but one thing. First off, we've got color separated eyes, which is absolutely phenomenal. We've got a nice green segment for the inner eye segment, and then a little bit of a dark plastic mask bit that goes on top of it to fully color separate them. The stickers that I have on here are an optional use extra just to get those eyes shining, but it is nice to have color separated eyes, and it makes it super easy to paint if you're going to paint this. No masking required. Another very nice subtle detail to this is the way the venting works in the face. I actually thought this was a gap when I was putting it together first. So you snap the two sides of the head armor on, and you get a gap into the inner segment, which is the white detail underneath, which is very impressive. Now the but one thing that really does detract from this is there is a sticker for that little segment, that shell unit in the forehead that just kind of goes onto the V-fin, and then you slap a clear segment over it. This looks blocky and very dated, like something we would have seen on the high-grade 00 kits over a decade ago. Sadly to me, this is not Witch from Mercury quality and does detract a little bit, but on the whole, it still looks great. Now jumping on to the model kit sins, as in the bad aspects you get when something is a model kit. When it comes to the nubs, there aren't really a whole lot. They do show up quite a bit on this color of plastic, the turquoise, so you do have to be a little bit careful while snipping them off, but they're nicely hidden away for the most part and easy to deal with. When it comes to mold lines, I couldn't find a single one at all when I was searching around it. I'm sure there's going to be one or two, but none in anywhere critical, and nothing I had to clean up. When it comes to seams, Bandai has nailed it here. Every single seam on this kit is hidden. It's put into a part of the armor, recessed into some of the armor, or matched with almost like another fake seam across from it to kind of make it look intentional. Everything here is so well designed and builds up so good. So essentially, no seams. Finally then, when it comes to hollow parts, there isn't really anything here. There's a little bit in the elbow, but besides that there's some on the sides of the legs which actually have some molded detail in them, which makes them look deliberate. On top of that, we've got aspects like the inside of the side skirts, which has a layer of dark plastic underneath it to make it look like it's armored from below. And the fact that this is green armor onto a grey inner frame, it just all looks so strong, so mechanical, and so scale model. Definitely a kit that looks absolutely fantastic. So now moving on into the accessories, and here's absolutely everything that comes inside of the box with the high-grade Rubris Ur. And this has impressed me in one particular way. Actually, the whole spread is great, but it's particularly impressed me. What we're getting here is the loadout of a Gatling gun, the back unit, 2 beam sabers, and shock, 2 actual alternate hands. I've had these on the entire review so far. They're the widespread ones, and the other ones we have in here is a pair of fists with the hole for holding onto things. There are 2 in here. I've just got one lazily attached onto the Gatling. So yeah, when it does come to the hands in here, like I mentioned, we've got a pair of widespread hands as well as the standard holding ones. These look quite nice. It is awesome that they are included. As far as I know, this is a first for this line, 2 actual widespreads, and the alternate ones then we have are the standard pair of holding ones with a hole in the center. Swapping these out is super simple. It's the usual ball joint, pull off the one you don't want, and stick in the one that you do. Next up in here, we've got the beam sabers, 2 of these, and what it says about these in the manual is that these are a close-range weapon that projects a beam blade. Stored in the back of the gun shield, it can be drawn by rotating the attachment part to release it. So yeah, these are a standard pair of beam sabers for the most part. The beam is in a blue, this doesn't react under black light or UV. The handles are in grey, which is unusual to a degree, usually they're in white, and we do have a little bit of a tab on the sides of them. Attaching them into the hands is super simple. They just attach in the usual way by sliding them into a hand. These hold on perfectly, and that is what the Gundam Rubris Ur looks like, holding onto a beam saber. Fairly standard. When these are not in use, just pop them out of the hand, pop off the beam, and just like it said in the manual, these can be stored on the back of the shield. We've got 2 slots here, and that is for both of them to attach into, so this is some cool storage. Next up in here, we've got the beam Gatling gun. What it says in the manual is a portable firearm whose barrel rotates to fire beam pellets in rapid succession. Ammunition is supplied by a high-capacity battery which allows for quick consecutive fire. The gun shield on one side provides additional protection, while the beam Gatling gun is in use. So yeah, when it comes to the actual Gatling, this is very nice. I expected it to be a little bit basic, but it is not. It's made out of a whole bunch of parts, and it looks great. You can't disconnect the battery, sadly, but it still looks awesome. On the side we do have a handle. This just attaches into a standard peg hole, so that means it can rotate the whole way around to be held by the other hand. And speaking of other hand, this can be attached onto either or side because the peg holes in either or side are identical. As for the larger hole that we have, this is for attaching the shield into, so it just pops in. So that does mean it can be put on either or side yet again, just like the handle. So if you do buy 2 of these kits, you can dual wield the beam Gatlings heavy arm style. This attaches into the holding hands once again on either or side, holds on pretty good, and you can rotate the shield once again just like the instructions said, so the Rubris can grab onto those beam sabers. Once again, there's a bit of what it looks like when it's holding onto its beam Gatling gun, and this is a pretty damn cool beam Gatling right here. The next piece of equipment that comes inside this box is the phased array cannon. Once again, back to the manual, and it says, a large piece of equipment attached to the back of the mobile suit. When open, it can fire an extremely powerful high directivity beam in conjunction with gun format. It allows for intuitive wide-range attacks. It supposedly has additional functions which can be unlocked with a high permit score. So yeah, this right here is what the phased array cannon looks like. It looks very, very nice. It's the unit for attaching round back. It has very decent color separation in the same colors as the mobile suit itself. Like we saw before, there are a lot of stickers on this, but for the most part, they go into recessed parts, and all of them are a reflective color that could not have been done with plastic. Around back, we do have this little arm segment with 2 points of bending and 1 point of rotation. This whole thing can open up, pull out like so. These parts can bend down, and like I mentioned, there are a lot of stickers inside of it, but these are mainly just reflective red. Now, before I get this attached onto the backpack, I will mention, if you pop off this part in the middle here, we do have the standard backpack adapter. So that does mean this kit is compatible with other kits' backpacks. But what I will mention here is, with this off, we've got 4 holes in the back. That's 2 additional to this standard 2. Popping the backpack little piece back on with the thruster, and now we've got 1 in the middle for a grand total of 3. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more from the Rubris Ur in future, involving equipment that can be attached around back. It also means you can build yourself a bigger, symmetrical version of this with 2 big phase array cannon wings. But yeah, when it comes to the attachment, this attaches on nicely. You can attach it into whatever hole you want. The instruction says the one on the left. This has very nice articulation, so you can move it around all over the place. It does open up, and it does look pretty damn cool, even though it's got a bunch of stickers, but they reflect the light nicely. So finally jumping into the articulation, and the usual comment on the build, this is plastic on plastic, rock solid, will not move a millimeter. When it comes to the usual test pose, this gets down into it quite well. We do have a couple of limitations that does limit this kit a little bit, but for the most part, for a kit that is fairly thick, this does actually have a whole bunch of articulation. Now when it comes to the limitations on here, it's mainly just the ankles can't really get that flat when the legs are in widespread positions, and the ab crunch could be a little better, but besides that, this is awesome. Taking a closer look at the feet on this, the front of the feet and the back of the feet are separate like we've seen across this line so far. You get a lot of pivot and a lot of movement on the front of the feet, which is attached on via a ball joint. You're just kind of limited by the back part, which can only pivot side to side ever so slightly. As for these little back heel toes, or whatever you want to call them, they can rotate on these pivots, also just a little bit. Finally then, I will mention that the upper leg joints on this kit are inclined to pop off in that 30-minute missions kind of way. They just kind of, well, they kind of separate when you're moving it around, and it's not too hard to pop them back on, but when you're so close to getting a pose, this can be a little bit annoying. But on the whole, you will get absolutely fantastic poses out of this, and any complaints are super minor. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and this is a hard one to rank, especially because I really mean to get around to rejiggering my ranking system, but I've been putting that off till I actually get my office for reviewing sorted out. So I'm just going to go with the classic ranking system, and I'm going to go with giving this gold, which at the same time is a little bit not right. It's an absolutely perfect kit for the most part, and the only thing that really lets it down is that the chest segment feels a little bit on the cheap side compared to what we've seen from this line, but aesthetically it is absolutely gorgeous. It's only the clear parts on the forehead and the chest with the sticker combination that doesn't look that good. Ranking system, and I'm gonna go with giving this gold, which at the same time is a little bit not right. It's an absolutely perfect kit for the most part, and the only thing that really lets it down is that the chest segment feels a little bit on the cheap side compared to what we've seen from this line, but aesthetically it is absolutely gorgeous. It's only the clear parts on the forehead and the chest with the sticker combination that doesn't look that good. Besides that though, the accessories are all fantastic. If you bought 2 of this kit, you could double up on absolutely everything: the Gatling, the shield, and the phased cannon array around back. When it comes to the build and the articulation, this is rock solid, builds up phenomenally, and you will get the vast majority of poses you want out of it, just with some limitations at the ab crunch and the ankles, but besides that, highly, highly recommended. And the eye color separation blows my mind. That and the 2 hands. Anyway, if you do want one of your own, there's a link down there in the description. You can get yours through Hobby Link Japan. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time.